This is called Trans Student Sues West Virginia School After Assistant Principal Demands Proof of His Gender. This is by Sarah Beth Kaplan, and it's actually on the Friendly Atheist blog. The Pathos blog, I think is how it's pronounced. I've mentioned this before. I use an ad blocker when I do live streams, but you guys should 100% support the Friendly Atheist. Hemant Mehta, really, really good guy. I support him 100% all the way. So he's got a really, really good blog. You guys should give it a read. I get some of my articles from him. Anyway, so a lot of people know that I live in West Virginia. So this kind of hits home for me, quote unquote. Trans student sues West Virginian school after assistant principal demands proof of his gender. So let's give the article a read, see what it has to say. Last year, a transgender student at Liberty High School in West Virginia claimed he was cornered, harassed, and intimidated in a bathroom by assistant principal Lee Livengood. After the student walked out of the stall in the boys' restroom during a band trip, Livengood was allegedly standing there outside the stall to ask why he was in that restroom. He challenged the student to come out here and use the urinal to prove that he was a boy. Again, this was an older man in a position of authority blocking a student from coming out of a stall and leaving the bathroom, all because he didn't accept the student's gender identity. Even after a chaperone arrived on the scene, Livengood supposedly said to the student, "I'm not going to lie, you freak me out." Holy shit. For all that, he was suspended with pay for 4 days and lost his job until he was rehired weeks later. Superintendent Dr. Mark Manchin claimed it was a difficult decision without elaborating. Difficult for whom, says the article. The end result was that Livengood, a threat to trans students, was once again permitted to roam the halls. Yeah, I would call that a threat to trans students. Clearly a threat to trans students. What is wrong with people? What is wrong with this person? How did he get into a position where he could be an educator or even an administrator in an educational setting? There is something fundamentally wrong with this. Now that student, Michael Critchfield, is suing the Harrison County Board of Education for reinstating Livengood. Good. He should have sued the principal, or the assistant principal, I guess it was. He should have sued everybody until they were broke. He should have sued them out of existence. This is so disgustingly wrong. This action is a last resort, said Lori Stark, ACLU West Virginia legal director. Time and time again, we've attempted in good faith to work with Harrison County schools to create a safe environment for Michael and others like him, but school officials have not taken this seriously. This is a little bit beyond not taking this seriously. What happened to Michael shouldn't happen to any kid, attorney Teresa Turaseva said. For 4 long minutes, Michael was held against his will by a man twice his size and who was in a position of authority, who was screaming at him and demanding he expose himself. We would not tolerate this kind of behavior from a student, and we certainly shouldn't tolerate it from an assistant principal. And yet the Harrison County School Board has done just that. I hope this dude sits in prison and gets to sit on a sex offender registry for the rest of his life. That's what I'd like to see happen. And the school, why would the school rehire this guy? This is absurd. Among the charges in the lawsuit are false imprisonment, good, okay, by confining Critchfield in the restroom, sexual harassment, yeah, that's spot on, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and negligent retention hiring. I'm not sure I understand that last one. And negligent retention hiring. Okay. For his part, Livengood apologized. Oh, that's nice of him. In a half-hearted way by saying he was sorry for raising my voice while in the bathroom. As if the problem had to do with a decibel level. Clearly, Livengood has learned nothing from all of this. The lawsuit also calls for a restraining order to keep Livengood away from Critchfield and his family. Honestly, I would love it if the lawsuit called for a restraining order for this guy to be kept away from anybody under the age of 18. Seriously, this is a minor, and he sexually harassed this person as far as I'm concerned. There's nothing okay about that. Imagine if it were any other situation, an assistant principal asking any other person to expose themselves. This dude would be sitting on a sex offender registry, as he should. The school board failed to protect this student and other trans kids and prioritized Livengood's well-being instead. It's irresponsible, if not criminal, to reward somebody for threatening a student, and yet Livengood remains in his job as the new school year begins. Students deserve far better than that. That is a complete understatement. Dude is still an assistant principal at the school right now. What is wrong with the people in Harrison County? What is wrong with these people? This seriously makes me want to cry sometimes just reading this shit. If you like what I do and you want to make sure I can continue to do it, you can support me in a few ways. First, you can support me on Patreon. That's probably the best way. But if you want to get something back for your support, you can check out my Teespring. I'm trying to make a shirt design for every cult I've covered. I haven't gotten every one, but I'm working on it. So check it out and see if your cult is up there. Second, you can support me by checking out my game shop. I sell controller, cartridge, and game box stands for every system from the original Nintendo and Sega Game Gear to the Xbox One and Nintendo Switch. So give that a look too. And finally, if you want to support me in some way other than monetarily, you can check out my other YouTube channels. I have a retro game channel where I answer questions like, why does Shy Guy have a mask? And why are CRT TVs the best way to play retro games? I also have the podcast where I talk about stuff I don't feel I can say on a monetized channel. And finally, I have my main channel where I talk about cults. I wish I didn't have to worry about dancing around subjects carefully in the first place, but I chose to do this as a full-time job, so unfortunately I rely on YouTube's AdSense and on the support of patrons to continue doing the work I do. Anyways, check me out in all those places if you haven't already. Thanks for listening, guys.